Good morning, students. Today we're going to learn about complex fractions and unit rates. This is Chapter 2, Lesson 2, Complex Fractions. Let's go ahead and get started. Simplify a complex fraction. Fractions like 20 divided by 1/2 are called complex fractions. Complex fractions are fractions with a numerator, a denominator, or both that are also fractions. Complex fractions are simplified when both the numerator and denominators are integers. Let's go straight to our examples. Simplify 1/4 divided by 2. Recall that a fraction can also be written as a division problem. So if you have 1/4 here divided by 2, this can be rewritten as 1/4 divided by 2. And this is the part that looks more familiar to you when we're dividing fractions. Now remember that write the complex fraction as a division problem. Here we multiply by the reciprocal of 2, which is 1/2. Now in this case, 2 should be written as 2 over 1. That way you know that the reciprocal is actually 1 over 2, which is the same thing as when you flip the fraction over. Now, remember that when we do division of fractions, we convert them into multiplication. Once you have them into multiplication, then it becomes very easy because you just multiply numerator times numerator, denominator times denominator. In this case, 1 times 1 is 1, and 4 times 2 is 8. This is how simple it is. Now, we can say that 1/4 divided by 2 is equal to 1/8. That's very, very simple. Let's look at our side notes here. Divide fractions. To divide by a whole number, first write it as a fraction with a denominator of 1. And this is, you already know that any number, you can write it as a fraction by just putting it over 1. Then multiply by the reciprocal. So in this case, like we did right here, in this case right here, 1/4 divided by 2 over 1 is the same thing as 1/4 times the reciprocal, which brings you to 1/8. So basically, you probably never seen it in this form, but all we have to do is rewrite it. So that's basically the main thing. So let's put a little side note here. We rewrite in familiar form. Okay, so your example was 1/4, all that divided by 2. It's the same thing as 1/4 divided by 2. And you can put the 2 over 1 so you can make more sense. All right, let's go to example number 2. Now, the numerator is a whole number and you're dividing by a fraction. Well, it's the same thing again. This can be rewritten as 1 divided by 1/2 is the same thing. You take the numerator, 1 divided by 1/2, right? And now since this is a whole number, you can put it over 1, just like right here. So in this case, let me go ahead and rewrite it over here much easier. So it's 1 divided by 1/2. Usually make this line a little longer so you know that this is a whole number now and this is a fraction. So you can make a little difference between these two bars. So this is the same thing as 1 divided by 1 over 2. So you can put this 1 over 1 because 1 divided by 1 is still 1. And this is equal to the same thing as 1 divided by 1 times the reciprocal of this fraction. So now you know that you have to get the reciprocal. And now from there it becomes very easy. 1 times 2 is 2. And 1 times 1 is 1, which is the same thing as just 2. Right? And you can see it right here. So 1 divided by 1/2 is equal to 2. Let's scroll down. All right, so that should be enough to get you guys going for the got it's. I'm going to go ahead and do number A for you guys, and you guys make sure you do B, C, and D. In this example, you have 2 divided by 2/3. So that is the same thing as rewriting as 2 divided by 2/3. And then from there, all I have to do is put the 2 over 1, and I have myself 2 fractions being divided. But I know that this is the same thing as 2 over 1 times the reciprocal of the divisor here, which is now 3 over 2. And from there, everything becomes very easy. This can cancel, becomes a 1, this becomes a 1. So 1 times 3 is 3, 1 times 1 is 1, and your answer is actually just 3. So that's what you're going to put right here. That's the division of complex numbers. Let's go ahead and go to the next page. Let's tackle on some more some word problems. Calculating unit rates. When the fractions of a complex fraction represent different units, you can calculate the unit rate. Example number 3. Josiah can jog 1 1/3 miles in a quarter hour. Calculate his average speed in miles per hour. Write a rate that compares the number of miles to hours. So here they want to know how many miles in 1 hour. This part is the important part right here. This. That means that when you set up your fraction, miles will have to go on top and hours will have to go on the bottom. All right, so then this is the way it has to look. The units will be miles on top and hours on the bottom. So here we go. You got 1 1/3 miles divided by 1/4. As you can see, miles over hours. But now you can handle this already. So that we take the 1/3 and divide it by 1/4. Now this is more familiar to you guys. Now in this case, since we have a mixed number here, you have to convert it to an improper fraction. And remember that when you do that, you multiply the whole number times the denominator. 1 times 3 is 3, and then you add the numerator. 3 plus 1 is 4, so that becomes 4, and you keep the same denominator. That's how I got from here to here. So now, this looks more familiar now. So you take the same one, remember that this is the same as multiplying times the reciprocal. This is what's important here. Now from there, you can, there's nothing to simplify here, this way or this way. So on this one, you just have to multiply straight across. 4 times 4 is 16, right? And then 1 times 3 is 3. So 16 over 3. Now you have to recognize that this is an improper fraction. So then you have to turn it back into a mixed number. So, but either one is good. That would be your answer. So now when you have a word problem, you have to say what it actually means. Because if you just give me these numbers like this, that really doesn't mean anything unless you put it back into the context of the problem. So this would be so Josiah jogs at an average speed of 5 1/3 miles per hour. And as you notice from the previous lesson, we convert rates into unit rates by division. This is where this whole division comes in. Okay? Now one thing they have to understand, even though we convert it into multiplication, the answer to this multiplication is also the answer to this division. So either way. Alright, let's go on to the next problem. Tia is painting her house. Tia is painting her house. She paints 3/4 and 1/2 square feet in 3/4 of an hour. At this rate, how many square feet can she paint each hour? So, if she does this much in 3/4 of an hour, that means that in a whole hour, she should be able to paint a little bit more. But let's still set it up and let's convert it to a unit rate. So remember that rate is many over many units. Right? And a unit rate is many units over 1 unit. So we do that by dividing. So here we go. 3/4 feet squared divided by 3/4 of an hour. So now you know how to handle this. We put this here, 3/4 and 1/2 divided by 3/4. Convert the mixed number to improper fraction. 34 times 2, that will be 68 plus 1, 69. And then you keep the same denominator. Divided by 3/4. Go ahead and cross out, convert this to multiplication by taking the reciprocal of this number. Now 69 times 4, anything can be, this could be simplified. But in this case, they just went straight through. 69 times 4 is 276. And then 2 times 3, this part right here, is 276 over 2 times 3 is 6. That's how it got here. Now from here, you actually have to divide it to get your real answer. So let me go ahead and do that division here. That's 276 divided by 6. 6 goes into 27 4 times. 6 times 4 is 24. 7 times 4 is 3. Bring down the 6 here. 6 goes into 36 6 times. So 6 times 6 is 36. That becomes 0. So your answer here is 46. But now we have to put it back into the context of the problem. So it says, Sotia can paint 46 square feet per hour. Well, we knew that it was 34.5 in 3/4 of an hour. So in a whole hour, you could probably assume that it's going to be a little bit more. And in fact, it is right here. So it was 34.5. She can actually paint 46 square feet per hour. If she, of course, if she paints at the same rate without taking a break through a whole hour, that would be what it would be. All right. So this should be enough information. I mean, it's simply nothing really new except just to rewrite the complex fraction into the familiar form that we understand. This case. See, fraction over fraction. Just rewrite it, and then you come up with the exact same thing here. All right. So let's see. Let's look at the got it problems down here. So do these problems to find out how ready you are. Says Mr. Ito is spreading mulch in his yard. He spreads 4 2/3 square yards in 2 hours. How many square yards can he mulch per hour? So how many? This is the part that you understand. Per hour. So you're going to have square feet, yards on top, and hours on the bottom. All right. So, and this one's kind of simple because it tells you 2 hours. So in 1 hour, it would be half of all that. But you need to actually do the work that we have up here. Set it up. All right. In this case, it would be something like this. You have 4 2/3, all that divided by 2. And you can rewrite that as 4 2/3 divided by 2. And you can just put the 2 over 1. And from there, you would convert this into an improper fraction like this. And then convert it to multiplication like this. And then you will get your answer. This one, similar manner. Aubrey can walk 4.5 miles in 1.5 hours. Calculate her average speed in miles per hour. Well, miles per hour, average speed is always miles divided by hours. So speed is always equal to the distance divided by the time. And this is the formula that's basically guiding you to finding the speed. Distance divided by time. So in this case, it would be 4.5 divided by 1 1/2, which you know is equal to, well, I'm going to leave this for you because you need to be able to know, go from here to the actual division here. All right, so that's all for this video. Okay, hold on. Let me see if there's another example here to do. Yes, here's another example. Example number 5. On Javier's soccer team, about 33 1/3%. So here's something new. percent of the players have scored a goal. Express 33 and 1/3% as a fraction in simplest form. All right, so here we go. So you take your 33 and 1/3%. That is the same thing as 33 and 1/3 over 100. Because remember that percent is the same thing as per 100. So it's the same thing as anything divided by 100. So for any letter, anything divided by 100, that still gives you your percent. Okay, that's how they went from here to here. In order to get rid of this sign, the percent sign, you have to rewrite into a complex fraction. So here's your definition of a percent. So now this should look similar by now. We rewrite this into 33 and 1/3 divided by 100, right? We take our 100 and you put it over 1. Yes? So now from here, we can actually, now from here, remember that this is the same as multiplying times the reciprocal of this guy. So in this case, you see that the hundreds cancel. So this becomes a 1. 100 goes into 100 once. 100 goes into 100 once. So now you end up with 1/3 times 1 over 1, which is the same thing as 1 times 1 is 1, and 3 times 1 is 3. So it's 1/3. Okay? So about 1/3 of Javier's team has scored a goal. So remember, in order to get rid of this percent sign, you must put all this over 100. And from there, everything should look very similar. Okay? That's enough for this. That's it for this video. We'll continue on the next lesson, on the next video. And the guided practice here, go ahead and try them out to see which ones you can do and you cannot do by yourself. And then we can go over them on in school the next day. All right? Thank you very much. Have a good day.